Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. I was thinking about something kind of interesting. Well, at least I find it kind of interesting. That is about birds of prey, owls, actually, in particular, and how one of the first times that I saw an owl uh, in a cartoon that seemed scary to me, and that was with The Secret of Nim, or The Rats of Nim, um, which I believe is like a Don Bluth cartoon. I mean, before then you would have like calculators or uh, different toys anyway that had owls look like. I think they had like a graduation hat or something like that. Anyway, apparently they're wise animals. That's the way you kind of look at them. But I'm going to try to draw something. I don't think it's going to look like an owl, but I'm going to maybe piece something together in my head, and just for fun, see if I can come up with something. Let's zoom in on this. Let's try here. Now, I'm going to try to think uh, sort of like a symmetry kind of sorts of things with the face of the owl. So two sides. Uh, yeah, let's see what happens. So I'm going to start off here like that. And then try to create a space where I want the eyes to be and go from there. As I said, I don't think this is going to end up looking perfectly like an owl. This is more like a cartoony something inside my head. I have a rough idea, but not perfectly. Now, I've been to aviaries and I've seen different owls. I've seen them in a distance. They're, I would say they're more of a nighttime kind of creature than anything else. I don't know if they're really creatures that you get to see in the daytime that much. I suppose you can, but they hunt at night. And there's something kind of scary about that in my mind. Um, I guess they could, hear a mouse scurry around and at great distance track them down and snack on them, I guess. So, what do we have going on here? Hmm. I think in a way, there's a version of these that seem more like cat like in my head, like a barn owl or a horned owl. Is it possible that the look of them could be kind of like a cat? Let's see how this goes. Now, I think we could probably change a couple of things with this. I think in some ways, sketching this helps with the feathering part of it. Now, do I want to have this owl holding a book? That seems kind of, I don't know, maybe not. As I said, I've seen them with like that graduation cap, like they're a professor of days gone by. Of course, in the Potter world, uh, you could have one of these kind of like as a familiar, something that would be, have messages sent to you. You'd have a buddy of sorts, an animal buddy, companion of sorts, maybe a magical friend. Well, let's try to figure out something. What if we put our friend here in like a t-shirt? Let's have kind of like a leaning pose, maybe. So arm out along the side here. Okay. Kind of loosen up that t-shirt a little bit. We're going to wear kind of a chain, maybe. We'll have a baggy shirt, but not super baggy. Let's kind of back this out a little bit, I think. Let's go to there. Let's go with kind of a shorts, but not really. And maybe a floating kind of cuffed shoe, which still gives us use of our talons. Because, I mean, if you want to sit on a tree, sit on some branches, I should say, you probably want to be able to grip that. So in the last video, I drew a picture of, well, kind of a tribute of sorts to the actor Sam Neill. Kind of like well, not really like a dinosaur, but let's call it a dinosaur, sure. A Jurassic Park kind of related looking thing. We're going to have it so that a thumb here is maybe, although they don't have thumbs. It's kind of in a pocket. Over here. We'll have the talons set up again. Now, the reason why I kind of brought up that drawing from yesterday morning has to do with this now sort of accepted theory that dinosaurs may have more of a relation to birds than reptiles. And it's been, well, not perfectly accepted, but I mean, I think it's possible that we could have seen them maybe with feathers like birds of prey. Now, in my mind, amongst the scariest things that I've seen in person, and that would be at Gatorland, yeah, gators are probably the spookiest things as far as how you see creatures just kind of roaming around. I've seen alligators like that at Gatorland. I don't know why you'd want to keep something like that. They had this zip line where you could kind of scoot over the water where, you know, they're in there hanging out and snapping at the line. Nope, not my thing. I don't want anything to do with that. Because if something fails, yeah. Anyway, so they had like, they don't really do shows so much anymore. They have like, you get to see the eating habits or something like that. But I mean, they are shows. Like there's like special feeding times where staff will come out and feed the creatures chunks of chicken and whatnot. Anyway, it's fascinating and not really my favorite thing in the world. Now, I didn't figure out what I want to have around the neck here. Well, we could just, what if we gave the owl a related bit of bling, as the kids might say, the bling. I believe there are different groups who like the owl. Societies, let's say. And I mean, good for them, I guess. Okay. I believe the rapper Drake also, I think there was a collaboration with Drake and McDonald's for some sort of night owl combo or something like that. You get some limited edition plastic cup and some sort of night owl drink, maybe. So, seems kind of like a little bit messy. Let's kind of bring that down a little bit more. Okay. What if? Actually, let's zoom in a little bit on this part. I'm going with a hat. Like that, I think. Now, let's make our way through this. And kind of outline a couple of things and then call it for the day. We'll treat the feathers a little bit like hair. I'll go with a stronger outline, I think. Let a little bit of it overlap the shirt. A good friend of mine, someone who I've known since the late 80s, I believe, that the love of his life loves these creatures as well. Frank is a pretty cool dude, pretty artsy guy. And he and Chantal have been together for quite some time. As I said, there's something about owls that are kind of like, they're interesting creatures. I associate them with the night. Of course, people kind of mark them in with wisdom. Now, off the top of my head, I don't remember what the type of movement that they have with their heads, where they're able to kind of keep their eyes as level as possible. Kind of like what do they call those type of cameras, like where they kind of steady cams, I guess. That is fascinating. Now, I'm going to try to add a little bit of shading to the upper part of the eye here because of the brow feathers. And as I said, I don't know if I'd say that this really looks like an owl in particular. Now let's move down just a little bit here. And let's try to complete a little bit more of this. Let the shirt sit slightly higher for this part of the cuff of the t-shirt. We'll use the feathers to mark fingers, but not really. Owl in Winnie the Pooh is a wise creature, of course. I don't remember the name of the owl from The Secret of Nim. Oh, there's a Nicodemus. There's mice, and there's rats. I haven't seen that in a long time. Not really a recommended for little kids kind of movie. Kind of like Watership Down. Kind of a spooky, scary thing going on. Let's fill in the background of this a little bit and behind those letters so they can stand out just a little bit. Let's put a little sparkle with little tiny X's, like the lights hitting it. Now I could have made the chest considerably wider. I don't know if it matters. As they are creatures with a lot of feathers. Oh, dip the pen. Now, like I said, we're going to have kind of like the thumb, but it's not a thumb in the pocket here. Scoot in a little bit of shade, and then for relaxation purpose, we're going to have yeah. Something like that. We'll close this up a little bit. Okay. Now let's go to here. We'll let this kind of sit out a little bit. Now I don't know if we'd bother with socks down here. Hey, here's a question for you. Does Drake have a sneaker line? Probably has an association of sorts with some sneaker company. I don't know. But I'm not going to draw something in. I'm not saying that this has anything to do with Drake. It's just kind of made me think. Now let's work on this back talon. Now let's work on this part here. Leave this back one out here just a little bit. Like so. A little bit of shade underneath there where the other feather fingers can hide. Now let's go with this the final grouping of talon. Now, you may have heard me talk about this before. When I doodle pictures of dragons, I often think of chickens' feet. Now, maybe that has something to do with that Jurassic Park kind of referencing thing, to birds or whatnot. Or just because, those are the creatures that I would have seen in movies when I was a kid. They had talons. Dragons. So the idea that such a creature could grasp with claws, it's kind of spooky. Now we're going to have kind of like a slight lean, I guess you'd have. A little bit of shading in there. Okay. This is an unusual picture. So let's see if there's anything else that I want to do for the doodle in my sketchbook. Kind of dropping in some shade from the head that's just casting shadows. A little bit under here too, but we don't need a lot of it. We'll fill in some of the space between the talon toes. Now, I don't know what I would have had in mind for what we were leaning on. Walls are generally pretty easy. Could have something here, maybe a car. I'll leave that because I kind of want to finish this up for now, and maybe I'll revisit this as an idea. You know, a stop sign would be kind of interesting, or if there was a wall, and maybe like a brick wall with some graffiti on it, but I don't have lots of room over there. Let's kind of back this out a little bit more. Well, I don't mind that so much for what it is. So I think this is going to be kind of it. I'm not going to bring out a brush and water. I'm going to tuck this arm kind of back a little bit, I think. Like the elbows kind of maybe back and behind, just a scooch. So a little bit of shading in there. Let's see. Let's treat this like the final minute. A little bit underneath. Shading here. Let's go back under here for a moment. Let's sharpen up the eyes. I think I'm okay with this. I think that's going to be enough to kind of leave it be. Because otherwise, something silly could happen, and I'm not going to like it anymore, and I'll never revisit it. Which could happen. It's not the worst thing, actually. All right. I should say I'm treating a light source from kind of straight up above. I guess just from the way that I have the shadows going. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Come back again, see what we can do. All right, ciao for now.